Have you ever stopped to think about what really makes you, you? We tend to think our DNA is this totally unique code, right? But what if I told you that code connects you to almost every single living thing on this planet? Well, today we're going to unravel that very connection, and this amazing infographic is going to be our map.
It kind of sounds like the start of a bad joke, doesn't it? But no, it's a serious question. And the answer is probably a whole lot more than you think. So stick with me, and we're going to find out exactly how much.
All right, let's dive right in. This visualization right here, this is our guide. It tracks the percentage of genes that we humans share with all sorts of other species. And in doing that, it tells this incredible story of our common origins, of just how connected all life really is.
So, how exactly do we read this thing? It's actually pretty simple. That percentage of shared genes, it's basically a clue to our shared family history. The bigger the number, the more recently our evolutionary paths went in different directions.
Now, before we get to all the crazy numbers, we gotta be clear on what shared genes even means. This isn't just a random coincidence. We're talking about genes we actually inherited from a common ancestor, way, way back in the past. And these genes are still doing the most basic, fundamental jobs to keep an organism alive.
Okay, so we're going to start climbing the tree of life now, but we're starting at the very bottom with some of our most distant and honestly most surprising relatives. You might want to buckle up for this. 18%. Just let that number hang in the air for a second. What on earth could we possibly share 18% of our entire genetic toolkit with?
Yup, baker's yeast. Believe it or not, the same little single-celled fungus that makes our bread rise shares almost a fifth of its working DNA with us. And why? Because we both rely on these ancient genes to do super basic stuff like processing food and fixing our cells when they get damaged.
All right, let's take one more little step up the ladder, 24%. So we're almost at a quarter of our genetic code now.
And where does that 24% connection come from? The plant kingdom. A full quarter of our genes have a direct counterpart in a wine grape. Again, these are those ancient, super important genes that manage the absolute basics of complex life.
You see, the key thing to get here is that this shared DNA is like a basic toolkit that evolution has been using and reusing for hundreds of millions of years. It's like the engine room of life itself, powering everything from a little yeast cell all the way up to you.
Okay, so let's leave the plants and fungi behind for a bit and head into the animal kingdom. This is where that shared toolkit starts to build more familiar-looking stuff, and you're going to see the numbers really start to jump. Just look at how quickly that similarity shoots up once we're dealing with animals. Remember that fruit fly from the beginning? We share 47% of our genes. A chicken, 65%. And a zebrafish, which is another vertebrate like us, a whopping 73%. You can literally see the genetic blueprint for an animal body coming together. And this connection, it spans the entire animal world. I mean, we share over half our genes, 54%, with a simple little sea anemone. And then on the other end of things, 69% with a totally unique, egg-laying mammal like the platypus. It just goes to show how deep these genetic roots really go. And now we've arrived at our closest relatives, our fellow mammals. And this is where the numbers get so high that it's actually the differences that become the most fascinating part of the story. Okay, get ready, because the climb gets really fast here. Man's best friend, the dog, 84% shared DNA. A cow, 85%. A little mouse, which, by the way, is why we use them in medical research, 88%. And our closest living relative, the chimpanzee, a truly staggering 90%. Just think about that for a second. All the art, the science, the language, all of civilization, everything we think of as human is packed into that little 10% sliver of genetic difference. It's both a huge gap and, at the same time, a surprisingly small one. So, let's pull all the way back and look at the whole picture again. We've gone from a single-celled fungus all the way to our primate cousins. So, what does it all really mean? You know, when you see it all laid out like this, the whole story just clicks into place. From 18% with yeast all the way up to 90% with a chimp, it's clear our DNA isn't some standalone document. It's just a chapter in the much, much larger book of life on this planet. And really, the big takeaway here is that our genetic code is less like a one-of-a-kind blueprint and much more like a beautiful tapestry. It's woven together from these ancient threads that we share with grapes and fish and mice, all coming together to create the pattern that is, for now, uniquely human.
And that leaves us with this one last, really profound question to think about. If we're built from the exact same fundamental parts as all the life around us, what does that really say about our connection to it, about our responsibility for it? What does it truly mean to be part of this incredible shared legacy?